Hello, fellow Gambians. I am Pasamba Jau, here with some of our colleagues in the diaspora to hold a press conference on the situation that is confronting our nation today, and that is the draft constitution that is now before the National Assembly. And as citizens of that country, we want to also add our voice to what will go down as one of the most important undertakings in our country's history, and that is the promulgation of a constitution that might usher in the third republic of our nation. With me, I have Mrs. Ndei Jobate from Norway. I have Mrs. Fatou Jagne Senghor, who also happens to work for Article 19. I have Mrs. Sophie Cisse, who is the spokesperson of Duga. I have Mr. Sidi Sane of GAMCODE, Right to Know, and of course, Mr. Jegan Gray Johnson of GAMCODE and Right to Know. Without wasting much of your time, I would just want to call on Mr. Sane to say a few words on why it is important that this draft constitution be taken to the people to make the ultimate decision. Mr. Sane. Mr. Sane, I think your thing might be muted. Yes. You are muted still. All right, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Coach Pasamba Jau. We are gathered here today to address few issues concerning the draft 2020 Constitution of the Gambia. This is a proposal that has taken the CRC almost 2 years, if not more, to provide us with the draft. I think this is the most important document we have been presented in the 30 years since the last the Jammeh regime, 22 years. The proposal is very comprehensive, and we believe that this is going to be the document that can suitably replace the 1997 Constitution. It is far superior, in my view, to the 97 Constitution because it addresses some of the very important areas that were either neglected in the past or where laws were made but they were not observed by Jammeh regime. If we look at the areas that concerns, for instance, the civil service, it is very, very comprehensive, and it really lays the groundwork and the legal framework for any subsequent restructuring of the civil service. And this is why I think it is extremely important. Going back to the 1997 Constitution, in my view, it tells a great deal about our conviction to transforming the Gambia from the 22 years of dictatorship to a truly democratic and independent country. This is, as I said, really presenting us with a background and a framework, legal framework, so that we can move forward with the transition. So I think that this is my suggestion would be that we should go ahead. The National Assembly members, we are not going to satisfy everybody. There are a lot of things in this Constitution which some of us will disagree with. But on the whole, what are the options of going back to the 1997 Constitution, which has been amended over 50 times by Yaya Jammeh. I think this is the opportunity that we have to be able to move ahead and put the Jammeh regime behind us as history. Thank you. You are mute.
Pasamba, you are mute. We can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself, please? Thank you.
Muted. Okay. Sorry. Mrs. Fatujan Sengor, you are one of the leading advocates of democracy and human rights in Africa. As the executive director of Article 19, you are known to be a strong advocate for fundamental rights, especially the right to freedom of expressions and opinion. The 1997 Constitution was seen by many to be an instrument of tyranny, where fundamental rights were restricted, especially the rights of the press. What do you think is different in this draft that is so important that we should have it instead of the 1997 Constitution?
Thank you very much, Basamba. Thank you all the colleagues who are in this call. I think our country is at the crossroad. When Gambians expressed themselves in 2016 to change for good the system we were in, the repressive system we were in, it was very clear to us that the legal framework that was the basis for the oppression, the legal system that was set up, supported by a judiciary that was also undermined by the executive, that system will change progressively to ensure that we can fully benefit from the change that we all fight. We all fought for that change. For 2 years, as Mr. Sani said, a process has been going on. And it's very important to reiterate that importance of a process, because democracy is not only the content, it's also the way you do things. And people were consulted across the country and outside. Experts were consulted, reviews of different documents, international instruments, constitutions of sister countries were consulted really to come up with a draft. Obviously not a perfect one, but a draft that will really reflect the aspiration, the democratic aspiration, and the fact that Gambians wants a system that is accountable, the system that is based on the rule of law, the system that is based on inclusivity and equality. And I think when we look at that constitution that is presented today, it reflects some of those values, some of those principles. That is why it is very important for us to support this. And when you look at now concretely on the fundamental rights issues, of course, there are a few things that we can highlight here quickly. We know that torture was the order of the day during the Jammeh regime. In this constitution, in very, very clear terms, torture is prohibited, and that is in line with international standard. And the mechanism to ensure that that will not happen, or if it happens, the remedies, appropriate remedies will be taken, is in the constitution. It was not there. The other bit also, we look at freedom of expression chapter. Not only the freedom of the media, we're talking about now a new regime for access to information, which is clearly stated, and the mechanisms to ensure that it is implemented properly is also catered in the new constitution. That was not the case before. We remember all that public servants were almost literally prohibited from giving the public information. And we are seeing the reminiscence of some of those practices still. So this new constitution is providing for access to information in very clear terms, the mechanisms that are in place, the oversight bodies. It caters also for an independent regulator in the sector of the media, which is very important. You know that for the past 3 years, licenses have been given to private entities. Some of them are operators in the telecom sector, and we need a system that will be regulated in a fair manner so that the communities can have access to information, can have access to broadcasting, and the Constitution is providing for such mechanism to be in place. So I believe if you look at these areas, we will safely say that progress has been made. Obviously, a constitution is a work in progress. There will be there will be legislations that will be going further to ensure that what is provided in the constitution is reflected in those legislation. But I strongly believe that this constitution provides, in a nutshell, the proper framework to establish a system of democracy that is based on the rule of law, that is based on the respect of freedom and dignity of the Gambian. This is why it is very important that we would call on our National Assembly members across parties to all put the national interests before and vote this, and also to the executive to be the one championing the referendum, because we believe that when we elected President Barrow in 2016, and when he made his first declaration, it was clear that the will of the people will be a system change, and we are yet to see that system change, and this constitution provides us the background or the basis for a system change to start, and we need it now.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Jane and Mrs. Jane Sengor. Mrs. Yasofi Sisi, you've been known as one of the longest serving advocates in the diaspora for our rights to participate in the political process in that country. And you've been doing this since the First Republic. I'm not revealing your age here or how long you've been away, but we've looked at this draft. Initially, diasporans were not accorded the right to vote. We were not even accorded the right to participate in elections. In this draft, you've seen that now diasporans, those especially that have dual citizenship, can serve in cabinet, can also run for the National Assembly. How important do you think this is in contrast to what we had before, especially diaspora participation, especially some of us who contribute almost 20 to 25% GDP? Mrs. Sisi. Sophie. See muted.
Thank you, Pasamba, and thank you to Sidi and Fat Jan for opening up and providing us the lead to really speak on the matter at hand and to share some of the concerns that, as a member of the diaspora, I have, and I believe I represent a good number of those positions as a representative for Duga. Gambia had the longest running democracy in the continent of Africa, on the continent of Africa, from 1965 to 1994. Was it perfect? It wasn't. But it was a democracy that others in the region emulated, looked to, spoke about. The exercise that was embarked upon 2 years ago, and as Fatu alluded to, not only was it was a national consultation embarked upon, it was worldwide. Wherever there were Gambians, the CRC engaged and sought opinions on the changes that were brought to the table. There is no perfection. The 1997 Constitution, however, not only was it imperfect, and we accept imperfection because that allows us to identify the areas for growth, areas that we could kind of pull apart and look into and to see how we can improve it. It allowed the entrenchment of dictatorship. Dictatorship with enablers whose only interest was to perpetuate whatever crumbs they were able to get from the dictatorship. Having given the diaspora an opportunity now to make their opinions known, to be able to participate in the process of democracy in the Gambia, and then to have National Assembly members whose mandate is the people's mandate, It is those who voted them in, those who they represent, whose interests they should be after. For them to even think of voting no is to thump their noses at the very people they're supposed to represent. Now to the diaspora. We're called upon to participate. When we participate, our opinions and ideas are thrown out. We're called upon to be on the ground and be part of the struggle. And when we return to be part of the struggle and nominate National Assembly members, our opinions are thrown out. My question to the National Assembly members is, what is it in the draft constitution that threatens the future of the people that you're representing? What is it in the current draft constitution that you think does not support making our system strong enough such that what happened to bring on Yaya Jammeh does not prevail? The diaspora, Gambian diaspora, we are ready, willing to be part and parcel of taking the future, taking the Gambia to the future for ensuring democracy, rule of law, and total participation. To vote no is to say that many of the improvements that have been made, if not all of the improvements that have been made to the 1997 Constitution, are not good for you, good for the people you represent, good for the country.
Thank you. Sophie, you are there?
I am.
Oh, all right. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Now we have Mrs. Ndeye Jobate.
Coach, we've got only about 7 minutes, huh?
Okay. Mrs. Jobate, you've been one of the leading advocates for gender rights, especially rights of women. And we've seen this draft constitution, section 55, specifically deals with the right of women. What is your assessment of that?
Yeah, thank you so much, Pa, and thank you everybody who is here. As everybody has said, we have really fought, we have really given in, we have done everything possible to be able to secure our lives. There is no political party in the Gambia that will win an election without women. There is no political party in the Gambia that will launch a successful campaign without women. There is no political party in the Gambia that will select a leader without the women. Yet we see women still at the back burner. Yet we see today, as we are talking on this program today, many women are dying giving birth. We have seen the outrage from both men and women to show how much neglected women are. And in this constitution, the reason why we are having such a situation, because we don't have enough women in these positions. We don't have enough women in decision-making power. We don't have enough women in the institutions. We don't have enough women in parliament. We don't have enough women in the political leadership or even in the government. And now in this constitution, we have 14 seats, affirmative action, that will fast-track women's participation in politics. We also have the caddy system. We have seen women entangled into this caddy system where they don't get help, where they don't, even their voices are not heard because they are women. Now you can go into the High Court to make your case heard in this draft constitution. Also, we have seen anti-corruption commission that would provide oversight for vulnerable women groups. We have also seen the freedom of information, where a women's group can find out where funds can find out where funds are coming from, so that they can hold these people accountable. They will know. And then also, this means that their independence from politicians can be guaranteed as well. They don't need to tie themselves to them. We've also seen 10% of youths are supposed to be the 10% of youth. Most of the political parties should have 10% of youth in their political party. That also girls can benefit from this. So there's a lot this is offering to women. This constitution, in fact, is a feminist constitution. I will dare to call it a feminist constitution. And every woman should rally behind this constitution. Don't listen to any political party. Don't listen to any politicians. Don't listen to anybody. This is a feminist and a women's constitution, and we should rally around it. And I'm calling on the president, not even the government, I'm calling on the president to stand up and champion this constitution. There is no turning back. This is a promise made. And a promise made should be delivered. And this is the list we are asking for as women, as Gambians, and also people also living both in the country and diaspora. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jagan. I would let you, depending time here, to at least give us the general merits on why we should support this draft, Jagan.
Thanks, Pasamba. I hope you can hear me. I think everybody really has talked about the very salient aspects as to the fundamental question that is before us today, which is simple. Do we look at living up to the aspirations and the expectations of the Gambians when they did what they did on December the 2nd, 2016, which is to chart a new way forward for the future of this country? Or do we let ourselves be ensconced and be trapped in political party machinations and be stuck into the past, which is the 1997 Constitution? I think the irony of this whole thing, where this country now faces the hand of history on its shoulders, and we are facing a crossroads of either the future or the past, is solely vested for the first time, apart from all the positive principles that our other colleagues have talked about, issues of institutions, strong institutions that are recognized and supported by this draft constitution, whether it's through your anti-corruption commissions, the strengthening of a national human rights commission, which has already happened, but the principles around that is largely anchored in the issues that are going to be confronted through the National Assembly. So in other words, Parliament's strength and Parliament's oversight role has been further strengthened by this particular draft constitution, by virtue of the fact that you are looking at certain principles of accountability and vetting processes that have to go through the Parliament, through the National Assembly, where we never had that before. So in other words, the representatives of the people themselves are further strengthened, empowered to be able to dispense their duties when it comes to issues of transparency, accountability, and the oversight role that they have, which this particular draft constitution articulates and prioritizes very, very strongly. And I'd like to also say that this is where the irony of the whole argument is. We are now seeing a draft that empowers Parliament like never before. In this case, the National Assembly like never before. And it's the same National Assembly, certain members of the National Assembly, that are shunning that particular responsibility and actually killing off any chance or any semblance that at the end of the day, the country's interests will be put first and people will be given a chance to make a choice for themselves, given the fact that this process has been subjected to a massive degree of consultation, both in and outside of the country, particularly the diaspora, which is why we're here today, to say that we took part in the process and we took the process extremely seriously, which is why we are also lending our voice to our compatriots and our citizens back home to say to them that you are not alone in this advocacy drive. You are not alone in this particular fight. And we will continue to engage with them. But I think at the end of the day, knowing what we know now, tomorrow is a crucial day in Gambia's history. Those minority parliamentarians that are thinking of thwarting the will and the collective will of Gambians need to think again, because the repercussions will not only stop at us not having a chance of birthing a new republic. The repercussions for not doing that will be extremely dire. So I think there's an opportunity for us to move forward. There's an opportunity for us to live up to the expectations of December 2nd, 2016. There's an opportunity for us to do right, not only by ourselves, but for generations yet unborn, because this is the process of constitutional making. How do we see ourselves 50 years from now? How do we see ourselves 100 years from now? And that journey will start tomorrow. And we have that chance to do right for generations yet unborn. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jaga. How many more minutes do we have?
We've got another 3 or 4 minutes, Pa.
Yeah, just in closing, this is a great thing. Well, the reason why we are all here, Gambians, is to make sure that at least we have our voices heard and to ask the National Assembly. Those that are saying we are intimidating, nobody is trying to intimidate anybody. All we are asking the National Assembly to do is to give the general population the opportunity to decide whether to accept or reject this draft constitution. We don't want 15 people making the decision for us or 16 people. This is a serious matter. And to conclude, I just want to read something from the Gambian Constitution, the 1997 Constitution. And it is from section 112, subsection B. And it states, and this is to the National Assembly members, that all members shall regard themselves as servants of the people of the Gambia. Desist from any conduct by which they seek to improperly enrich themselves or alienate themselves from the people, and shall discharge their duties and functions in the interest of the nation as a whole, and in doing so, shall be influenced by the dictates of conscience and national interests.